militant group Hamas has confirmed that Ismail Haniyeh, the political leader of Hamas, has been killed in Iran. Iran's Revolutionary Guard has called the killing, quote, an assassination. It's more instability in the Middle East following Israel's strike, as we've been reporting on. So let's bring Vish into the conversation. How are you watching the geopolitics right now, given that we have seen the tension really ratcheting up, perhaps upping the ante now?
Yeah, I mean, so the way we look at it is thinking of it in two terms. One is how that features in risk appetite. Is risk appetite going to come off in a big way or not? And the other is the inadvertent inflationary effects that come about from price shocks, passage disruptions, so on and so forth. I think it's fair to say that the uncertainty around it is very large. Sometimes large events have got fairly muted and subdued effects, and then there are ripple effects from smaller events. Our sense is over the next 12 to 18 months, we're going to end up with disinflation that's sufficient, but not quite hitting the spot just because uncertainties, geopolitics, whether it's in terms of conflict or trade tensions and wider tensions around US-China, these things are going to keep prices propped up. And I think that also means that even as the Fed starts cutting rates, you're going to see risk premium featuring in terms of yields, so on and so forth. So it doesn't mean that risk assets will do well just because the Fed cuts rates.
Okay, indeed. We're looking at oil prices. Yeah. Can we bring up oil prices once again for our viewers and keep it with oil prices in the wake of this news? Of course, this is coming in through the Revolutionary Guard in Iran on Reuters. So we're quoting Reuters lines on this particular issue. And of course, we'll be monitoring this developing story, but it's very, very sensitive to geopolitical tensions in the region. And already oil markets are trading at multi-week lows. I know right now the tick is higher, but what do you sense could be the way forward for oil prices if tensions ratchet up?
Upside volatility to oil is going to be somewhat elevated, and I think it's not inconceivable that Brent could revisit $100. But for it to stay stuck there becomes more difficult given the demand conditions are not coming through and alternate supplies are coming up. Interestingly, what it does is that one question that needs to be answered and perhaps one conclusion that would favor the US. The question that requires answering is what it means for US oil and climate policies, because they do need to address the geopolitical elephant in the room even as they look at wider climate goals. So that's the first order question. But either way, I think US is better positioned to buffer itself against oil shocks than Europe is, which then means that maybe US assets do well, dollar resiliency is a lot more long-lasting despite Fed rate cuts, and those order of things become a lot more instrumental in thinking about how currencies and assets behave in a Fed cut world.
Okay, there you see the spike actually in WTI crude that we need to mark right now. It's a 1.25% reaction as we speak at 75.66.